The stars looked different from the bridge of the UES horizon. Captain Jake Morrison stood at the main window, watching alien ships move like silverfish through the darkness of space. 3 months ago, he had never seen anything like this. He was about to witness the most important meeting in human history. "Captain, we're getting another message from the Council," said Lieutenant Kate Williams from her station. Her voice was calm, but Jake could hear the excitement underneath. Everyone on the ship felt it. They were making history. Jake walked over to the communications panel, put it through to Ambassador Carter. Lisa Carter was in her quarters, preparing for the ceremony. She had spent weeks learning about the 12 alien species that made up the Galactic Council. Each one was different. Some looked almost human. Others were so strange that Jake couldn't understand how they even moved. But Lisa seemed comfortable with all of them. The message came through in perfect English. The aliens had learned human language quickly. Jake sometimes thought, would he push those worries away? "Ambassador Carter, the Council is ready to receive you. The ceremony will begin in 2 hours. Please prepare yourself and your honor guard." Lisa's voice came back strong and confident. "Thank you. We'll be ready." Jake smiled. Lisa Carter was the best diplomat Earth had ever produced. She was smart, kind, and never lost her temper, even when the negotiations got difficult. If anyone could get humanity accepted into this galactic community, it was her. The past 3 months had been like a dream. First contact had happened so fast that most people on Earth still couldn't believe it. The aliens had appeared at the edge of the solar system with ships that made Earth's best technology look like stone tools. But instead of attacking, they had sent a message of welcome. "Greetings, humans of Earth. We are the Galactic Council. We have watched your species grow and develop. You are now ready to join the community of intelligent life. We invite you to send representatives to discuss your future among the stars." Earth's leaders had chosen carefully. Ambassador Lisa Carter was 42 years old, a former lawyer who had spent years working on international peace treaties. She spoke 6 languages and had a way of making even the angriest people calm down and listen. Captain Jake Morrison was picked to command her escort ship because he was steady under pressure and never made rash decisions. The UES Horizon was Earth's newest exploration ship, built with the best technology humanity had developed. It wasn't much compared to the alien vessels, but it was fast and reliable. Most importantly, it showed that humans were serious about space exploration. The negotiations had gone well at first. The aliens seemed impressed by human art, music, and literature. They were curious about human emotions and the way people could work together despite their differences. Several species had expressed interest in trade agreements and cultural exchanges. But as the weeks went on, Jake noticed something changing. The friendlier species, like the blue-skinned Kithara and the tall, thin Xenothin, seemed to be speaking less during meetings. Instead, 2 groups were taking control of the discussions. The Vorak looked like humans might if they were built for war. They were taller, stronger, with thick gray skin and eyes like black stones. They never smiled and always seemed to be studying. The humans, like they were planning something. The elders were even more unsettling. They were ancient creatures that looked like walking trees made of crystal. They spoke in whispers that somehow filled entire rooms. And they claimed to have been alive when human civilization was just beginning. These 2 groups had started asking harder questions. They wanted to know about human military capabilities, population numbers, and industrial capacity. Lisa had answered honestly, explaining that Earth preferred peace, but was prepared to defend itself if necessary. That seemed to be the wrong answer yesterday. The tone had changed completely. The Vorak representative, War Prime Thokmer, had demanded that Earth accept what he called guidance treaties. These agreements would place human space under council control and limit Earth's right to develop new technologies or expand to other star systems. Lisa had refused politely, but firmly. Humanity appreciates the Council's offer, she had said. But we believe in the right of all intelligent species to determine their own future. We're happy to cooperate, but we won't accept restrictions that would make us less than equal partners. Silence that followed had been terrifying. The eldest speaker, whose name was impossible for human tongues to pronounce, had made a sound like wind through broken glass. Young species often mistake arrogance for wisdom, it had whispered. This error must be corrected. The meeting had ended abruptly, and the humans had been escorted back to their ship. That night, Lisa had called Jake to her quarters. She looked tired for the first time since they'd arrived. Jake, I need you to be ready for anything, she had said. I don't think this is going the way we hoped. What do you mean? I think we made a mistake. We assumed that because they invited us here, they actually wanted us as equals. But I'm starting to think they just wanted to see if we'd submit without a fight. It felt a chill run down his spine. What do you want me to do? Keep the ship ready to leave quickly. Make sure our message beacon is prepared. If something goes wrong, Earth needs to know what happened here. Now, 2 hours before the ceremony, Jake was checking their systems one more time. The ship's weapons were powered but hidden. The engines were warm and ready. The message beacon was loaded with all their records and aimed at Earth. Lisa appeared on the bridge wearing her formal diplomatic uniform. She looked calm and professional, but Jake could see the worry in her eyes. Ready, Ambassador? He asked. She nodded. Let's go make history. As they walked toward the shuttle bay, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into a trap. The aliens had been too friendly at first, too eager to learn about human weaknesses, and that ceremony they were about to attend was happening in a place where humans would be outnumbered 1,000 to 1. But Lisa Carter was depending on him, and Earth was depending on both of them. Whatever happened next, Jake would make sure the truth got home. The shuttle launched toward the massive Council Station, carrying humanity's hopes and fears into an uncertain future. Behind them, the UES horizon waited in the darkness, ready to carry either good news or a terrible warning back to Earth. None of them knew. They were flying toward the event that would change the galaxy forever. The emergency session of the United Earth Government had been going for 6 hours. President Helen Brooks sat at the head of the table, her face pale as she watched the recording for the 3rd time. Around her, the most powerful people on Earth sat in stunned silence. On the screen, Ambassador Lisa Carter stood with dignity as the alien executioner raised his weapon. Her last words echoed in the chamber. I die free, and so will humanity. Admiral Connor Davis slammed his fist on the table. They killed her like an animal, broadcasted across the galaxy like some kind of show. She knew, whispered Dr. Alex Thompson, head of Earth's xenobiology research. Look at her face. She knew what was coming, and she didn't break. Captain Jake Morrison had arrived on Earth 12 hours ago, his ship badly damaged from the desperate escape from Council space. He sat quietly at the end of the table, still wearing his torn uniform. The guilt in his eyes was clear to everyone. Captain Morrison, President Brooks said gently, You did everything you could. Lisa knew the risks. Jake looked up, his voice hoarse. They planned it from the beginning. The whole ceremony was a trap. They wanted to make an example of her, to show the galaxy what happens when you refuse to kneel. General Katie Sullivan leaned forward. How many ships did they have? Thousands, Jake replied. But most of them looked old, like they hadn't been used for real fighting in a long time. Admiral Davis raised an eyebrow. Interesting. Alex, what did your analysis show about their technology? Dr. Thompson opened his tablet. That's what I've been trying to tell everyone. Yes, their technology is advanced, but it's also old. Very old. They haven't improved their designs in centuries. They're using the same weapons, the same ships, The same tactics they've used for thousands of years. Why? Asked President Brooks. Because they've never had to change, Dr. Thompson continued. They've been the only power in the galaxy for so long that they've forgotten how to adapt. They're like a kingdom that's never been challenged. Fleet. Commander Ryan Parker spoke up from his position near the wall. Ma'am, there's something else you need to know. Project Silent Thunder is fully operational. The room went quiet. Even President Brooks looked surprised. I thought that was just a research program. Okay, no, ma'am, Ryan said. For the past 50 years, we've been preparing for this exact situation. Stealth ships, automated defense platforms, hidden weapons depots. We have assets scattered throughout human space that the aliens don't know about. General Sullivan smiled grimly. The paranoid bastards in the military were right all along. Admiral Davis nodded. When we first started detecting alien signals, 20 years ago, some of us argued for peaceful contact. Others said we should prepare for war. We decided to do both. Dr. Claire Adams, Earth's top physicist, had been quiet during most of the meeting. Now, she cleared her throat. I've been studying the alien technology samples we collected during the diplomatic mission. Their science is impressive, but it's also rigid. It follows strict patterns, like they're afraid to try new things. What do you mean? President Brooks asked. Humans are creative in ways they're not, Claire explained. Quote, we take their designs and improve them. We find new uses for old technology. We think of solutions they would never consider. Ben Mitchell, a civilian engineer who had been called in to help analyze alien tech, nodded enthusiastically. She's right. I've been working on their computer systems, and they're incredibly advanced, but also incredibly limited. Okay? They can do amazing things, but only in ways their creators intended. Humans would have found a dozen new uses for this stuff. President Brooks looked around the table. So, what are you all telling me? Admiral Davis stood up. We're telling you that this war is winnable. They're stronger than us, but they're not smarter. They're not more creative. Think they've made the mistake of thinking we're just another species they can bully into submission. Thought they killed Lisa, Jake said quietly. They executed her in front of the entire galaxy. Yes, they did, President Brooks replied, her voice hardening. And now they're going to learn why that was the biggest mistake they ever made. General Sullivan opened her briefing folder. Ma'am, I recommend we begin Operation Liberation immediately. We don't seek conquest or revenge. We seek the complete dismantling of the Council's authority over free species. Explain. Okay. The Council rules through fear and intimidation. They've convinced dozens of species that they need Council protection and Council guidance. What if those species suddenly had a choice? What if they could see that the Council isn't invincible? Dr. Thompson leaned forward. Several species opposed Lisa's execution. The recordings showed that clearly. The Cathora representative actually walked out of the ceremony. The Sinathan looked disgusted. They're not all our enemies. Fleet Commander Parker pulled up a holographic display. Our first targets should be their communication networks. If we can cut off their ability to coordinate, their empire will start to fall apart on its own. The species they control will have to start making their own decisions, Admiral Davis added. And once they realize they can survive without the Council, they'll start to question why they ever needed them at all. President Brooks stood up slowly. This isn't just about revenge for Lisa Carter. This is about freedom. The Council has been keeping entire civilizations in chains for thousands of years. They thought they could add humanity to their collection of slaves. She looked around the table at each person. They were wrong. We're going to show them what happens when you try to cage a species that was born free. Captain Morrison spoke up. What about the other humans still in Council space? The trade delegations, the research teams. Colonel Steve Barnes is already mobilizing rescue operations. General Sullivan replied. We'll get our people out first, then we'll head back. Admiral Davis activated the room's main display, showing star charts with human positions marked throughout the galaxy. The Council thinks they know everything about us. They think they've seen all our ships, all our weapons, all our capabilities. He smiled coldly. They're about to learn that humans are very good at keeping secrets. Dr. Adams was working on her tablet, running calculations. If we can establish a quantum communication network with our allies, we can coordinate attacks across multiple systems simultaneously. The Council won't know where to respond first. How long do we need to prepare? President Brooks asked. We've been preparing for 50 years, Admiral Davis replied. We can begin operations within 72 hours. The President walked to the window, looking out at the city below. Somewhere out there, people were going about their normal lives, unaware that their world was about to change forever. In the distance, she could see the launch towers where Earth's fleet was quietly assembling. They wanted to make an example of Ambassador Carter, she said finally. They wanted to show the galaxy what happens to species that refuse to submit. She turned back to face the room. Instead, they've given us something much more valuable. We've given us a cause worth fighting for. We've shown every free species in the galaxy exactly what the Council really is. President Brooks sat back down and looked directly at Captain Morrison. Captain, I want you to record a message. Tell the galaxy what you've witnessed. Tell them what Lisa Carter died for. Tell them that humanity will not kneel. Jake straightened in his chair. Yes, ma'am. And tell them, the President continued, that we're coming to free them all. The meeting ended with orders being issued and preparations beginning. Throughout Earth's cities and space stations, humanity was awakening to the reality of war. But this would not be a war of conquest or revenge. This would be a war of liberation. The Council had made their choice when they executed Lisa Carter. Now humanity would make theirs. The age of the Galactic Council was ending. The age of freedom was about to begin. The first strike came without warning. 3 Council communication stations simply went dark, their quantum relay networks destroyed in perfect silence. No explosions, no debris fields, no distress signals. They were simply gone. War Prime Thakmar of the Vorak Empire stared at the tactical display in his command center. Red indicators showed the dead stations scattered across 3 different sectors. His officers moved nervously around him, waiting for orders. How? He growled. How did they reach our stations without being detected? His communications officer, a younger Vorak named Drakan, checked his instruments again. Sir, our sensors show no enemy ships in any of those areas. No weapon signatures. No energy readings. It's like the stations just stopped existing. Across the galaxy, other council leaders were having similar conversations. The elder speaker stood in its crystal chamber, its ancient mind struggling to understand what was happening. For 3,000 years, the council's communication network had been invulnerable. Now humans were somehow destroying it, piece by piece. On the bridge of the stealth destroyer U.S. Retribution, Captain Nicole Hunt watched the tactical display with satisfaction. Her ship hung invisible in space, its advanced stealth systems making it undetectable to council sensors. Target destroyed, Captain, reported Lieutenant Derek Yang from the weapon station. Their relay station is completely offline. Good work, Nicole replied. Amy, what's our next target? Weapon Specialist Amy Chen consulted her list. Council Fleet Base 7, 12 light years from here. Intelligence says it's a major supply depot for the Vorak 3rd Fleet. Set course. Let's keep them guessing. The UES Retribution was one of 12 stealth destroyers that had been secretly built over the past decade. Each ship was equipped with experimental technology that made them nearly invisible to alien sensors. They could strike anywhere in Council space without warning. Meanwhile, on Earth, the Cyber Warfare Division was fighting a different kind of battle. Sam Rodriguez, the military's best hacker, sat in front of multiple screens showing alien computer networks. Next to him, Linda Walsh worked on breaking through the Council's encryption systems. Got another one, Sam announced. The Vorak military communication hub on Theta Prime just went offline. Linda smiled. Their security's impressive, but they never planned for human creativity. They built walls, we dig tunnels. The cyber attacks were carefully planned. Instead of trying to destroy everything at once, the human hackers were targeting specific systems. They cut communication lines between Council fleets, disabled supply distribution networks, and crashed the databases that tracked troop movements. Admiral Connor Davis watched the progress from Earth's command center. The main display showed a map of Council space with red indicators marking successful operations. In just 3 days, humanity had crippled the Council's ability to coordinate their vast empire. Sir, reported Colonel Steve Barnes, our rescue teams have successfully evacuated all human personnel from Council space. Operation Liberation can proceed to Phase 2. Excellent. Begin the diplomatic offensive. In a secure facility outside Geneva, Ambassador Peter Scott was preparing for the most important conversation of his career. Unlike Lisa Carter's formal diplomatic mission, Peter's job was to work in secret with alien species that opposed the Council. His first contact was with the Cathora. The blue-skinned aliens had been among the most friendly during the original negotiations, and their representative had walked out during Lisa's execution. Now, they were humanity's first potential allies. The communication came through on an encrypted channel that Sarah Mitchell, Earth's top intelligence operative, had established. The Cathora voice was musical and sad. Ambassador Scott, we are ashamed. Our people could not prevent the terrible act committed against your diplomat. Representative Veltar, Peter replied, we know the Cathora opposed the execution. We're not here for revenge against species like yours. We're here to offer you something the Council never did. What is that? Freedom. The right to make your own choices without asking permission from ancient tyrants. There was a long pause. What do you want from us? Nothing, Peter said. That's the point. We're not here to rule you or control you. We're here to help you rule yourselves. The conversation continued for hours. By the end, the Cathora had agreed to provide intelligence about Council fleet movements and to secretly support human operations. It was humanity's first diplomatic victory since the war began. On the military front, the war was escalating. Admiral Tony Wells commanded the heavy cruiser U.S. Independence as it approached, a major Council stronghold. Unlike the stealth operations, this was meant to be seen. All ships. This is Independence Actual. Tony broadcast to his fleet. Remember, we're not here to conquer. We're here to prove a point. Minimum casualties, maximum impact. The Council base was defended by a Vorak battle group that outnumbered the human fleet 3-1. On paper, it should have been an easy victory for the aliens. But the humans had advantages the Council didn't expect. Enemy ships are moving to intercept, reported the tactical officer. They're using standard formation attack pattern 7, Tony. We smiled. Of course they are. They've been using the same tactics for 1,000 years. Helm, execute, maneuver Delta 7. The human ships moved in ways that confused the Vorak commanders. Instead of the traditional line-up battle formation, they scattered and regrouped constantly. Their weapons targeted specific systems rather than trying to destroy entire ships. Within 2 hours, the entire Vorak fleet was disabled, but mostly intact. This is Admiral Wells, to all Council vessels. Tony broadcast. Your crews are unharmed. Your ships can be repaired. We could have destroyed you all, but we chose not to. Tell your leaders that humans fight for freedom, not conquest. The battle became famous throughout Council space. For the first time in centuries, a Council fleet had been defeated. But instead of destroying their enemies, the humans had shown mercy. It was a concept Many alien species had forgotten. News of the human victories spread faster than the council could contain it. On dozens of worlds, alien populations began asking questions they had never dared ask before. If the mighty council could be defeated, did they really need council protection? If humans could show mercy to their enemies, were they really the monsters the council claimed? The Zenithan were the next species to make contact with Ambassador Scott. Their tall, elegant forms had always seemed uncomfortable with council brutality, and now they were ready to act on their conscience. The execution of your diplomat was wrong, their representative stated simply. We will provide safe passage for human ships through our territory. One by one, cracks were appearing in the council's authority. Species that had been loyal for centuries were beginning to question their rulers. The communication blackouts meant that council leaders couldn't coordinate their response, and human military successes proved that the council wasn't invincible. In his fortress on the Vorak homeworld, War Prime Thokmer studied reports from across his empire. Human forces were striking everywhere and nowhere, appearing like ghosts to destroy his infrastructure before vanishing again. His fleets were scattered and confused, cut off from central command. Sir, his aide reported nervously, we're receiving surrender requests from 3 more colony worlds. They're asking for human protection. Rage was terrible to see. Cowards, we rule this galaxy. How can they bow to these primitive humans? But even as he raged, Thokmer knew the truth. The council's power had always been based on fear and overwhelming force. Now the humans had taken away both. They struck without warning and disappeared before retaliation was possible. They showed mercy to defeated enemies, which made other species less afraid of opposing the council. Most dangerous of all, they offered something the council never had: hope. The war was only 3 weeks old. But already the galaxy was changing. The age of council dominance was ending, and humanity was showing every species what freedom could look like. The erasure of the council's authority had begun, and nothing would ever be the same. The meeting room on the Kathira homeworld was unlike anything humans had ever seen. The walls seemed to be made of living crystal that changed colors with the emotions of the people inside. Right now, they glowed with hope and fear mixed together. Dr. Kevin Turner sat across from 3 Kathira leaders, his translation device working hard to convert their musical language into English. As Earth's top linguist, Kevin had been chosen to help with these delicate negotiations. Your species has shown us something we thought was lost forever, said Elder Silthera, her blue skin shimmering in the crystal light. The possibility of choice. Kevin leaned forward. The council never gave you choices. For 800 years, they have told us what to think, what to build, what to dream. Another Kathera replied. We forgot that we could say no. Kathera had been the first species to openly break from the council after Lisa Carter's execution. Their decision had shocked the galaxy and started a cascade of defections that was still growing. But it had also made them targets. Elder Silthara, Kevin said carefully, our intelligence shows that the Vorak are planning an attack on your worlds. They want to make an example of you, just like they did with Ambassador Carter. The crystal walls flickered red with fear, then steadied to blue with determination. We expected this. You're prepared to die as free beings rather than live as slaves. You won't have to die, Kevin promised. Humanity stands with its allies. 2 star systems away, Marine General Paul Davis was proving that promise. His fleet had just entered Kathora space, arriving barely ahead of the Vorak attack force. But this time, the humans weren't alone. General, this is Captain Zenakara of the Zenithon Defense Fleet, came a voice over the communication system. We are honored to fight beside you. All smiled. The Zenithan had joined the Alliance 3 days ago, bringing their advanced shield technology and their reputation as fierce warriors. Having them as allies sent a message throughout the galaxy that the humans weren't just another conquering species. Captain Zenakara, this is General Davis. Welcome to the fight for freedom. The battle for the Kithra homeworld became a symbol of the new galactic order. Human ships worked alongside Kithra vessels and Xenothon cruisers, each species contributing their unique strengths. The Vorak found themselves facing not just human tactics, but a completely new kind of warfare based on cooperation instead of domination. Lieutenant Colonel Grace Murphy watched the battle from the surface of the Kithra capital world. She commanded a mixed force of human special forces and alien freedom fighters, all working together to protect evacuation centers and communication arrays. Murphy, to all units, she broadcast, "Remember, we're not just fighting for the Kithra. Every species in the galaxy is watching this battle. Show them what freedom looks like." Her second-in-command, Sergeant Matt Johnson, crouched behind cover next to a group of Kithra militia fighters. The blue-skinned aliens had never been warriors, but they fought with desperate courage for their newfound freedom. "Incoming Vorak dropships," Matt reported. "It's like they're targeting the civilian shelters." "Not on our watch," Grace replied. "All teams, priority target is civilian protection. Let's show these bullies what happens when they pick on innocent people." K. The fighting was fierce but brief. The Vorak ground forces used 2 easy victories against helpless populations, found themselves facing coordinated resistance from multiple species. Human tactics, Kithora, knowledge of local terrain, and Xenothan technology proved to be an unbeatable combination. But the real victory was happening in space, where Admiral Tony Wells was demonstrating the power of alliance warfare. His human fleet worked in perfect coordination with alien allies, creating tactics that no single species could have developed alone. "This is incredible," reported Captain Lisa Stone from her destroyer. "The Xenothan shields are letting us get closer to enemy ships, while the Kithora sensors are showing us exactly where to hit them." The Vorak fleet, commanded by War Prime Thokmer himself, had expected an easy victory against a single species. Instead, they found themselves facing a united coalition that fought with both superior tactics and superior motivation. "Impossible," Thokmer growled as he watched his ships fall back in disorder. "How can inferior species defeat the Vorak Empire?" This tactical officer, trembling with fear, provided the answer. "Sir, they're not fighting as separate species. They're fighting as one force. We've never seen anything like it." The battle ended with the Vorak fleet in full retreat. For the first time in their history, the mighty Vorak Empire had been defeated by an alliance of species they considered inferior. The news spread through the galaxy faster than light. Meanwhile, on Earth, Captain Jake Morrison was struggling with his own battles. Since returning from Lisa Carter's execution, he had been consumed with guilt and anger. His crew worried about him as he volunteered for increasingly dangerous missions. "Captain," said his second-in-command, Lieutenant Eddie Brooks, "you need to talk to someone. This guilt is eating you alive." Jake stared out at the stars from his quarters on the UES horizon. "I was supposed to protect her, Eddie. I was supposed to bring her home." Chief Engineer Julie Martinez entered the room without being invited. She had served with Jake for 5 years and wasn't afraid to speak her mind. Captain Ambassador Carter knew the risks. She chose to go on that mission. She chose to stand up to the council. "You didn't fail her. You honored her by getting the truth back to Earth. But I could have done more," Jake insisted. "I should have fought harder, should have found a way to save her." Eddie sat down across from his captain. "Sir, if you had tried to fight your way out, we'd all be dead. Earth would never have known what happened. The war for freedom would never have started." Julie nodded. "Lisa Carter died for something bigger than herself. Don't make her sacrifice meaningless by destroying yourself with guilt." Their words finally began to reach him. Jake had been so focused on his failure to save Lisa that he had forgotten her actual mission, She hadn't gone to the council just to survive. She had gone to secure humanity's future among the stars. "You're right," Jake said, finally. "She died, fighting for freedom. The least I can do is keep fighting for the same thing." His crew smiled with relief. They needed their captain focused on the mission, not lost in guilt and regret. Across the galaxy, the war was changing the balance of power in ways no one had expected. The ancient Eldest Collective, desperate to maintain control, had begun using weapons they had kept hidden for millennia. The psychic attacks started on the colony world of New Geneva. Human colonists suddenly began experiencing terrible nightmares, visions of death and destruction that seemed completely real. But to the eldest surprise, the attacks had little effect. Dr. Alex Thompson studied the reports from his laboratory on Earth. "It seems human resistance to psychic manipulation is even stronger than we thought. The eldest can cause discomfort and fear, but they can't actually control human minds." This discovery led to an unexpected development. Other species that had been controlled by eldest psychic influence for centuries suddenly found themselves free when humans were nearby. The human presence seemed to disrupt the ancient aliens' mental control. "It's like humans are natural psychic dampeners," Dr. Thompson explained to the military leadership. "Wherever our people go, other species start thinking clearly for the first time in generations." This revelation caused panic among the remaining council loyalists. If humans could free entire populations from eldest mental control, the foundation of council power would crumble completely. The war was no longer just about military victory. It had become a struggle for the minds and souls of every intelligent species in the galaxy. And humanity, the newest species to reach the stars, was showing everyone what freedom truly meant. The galaxy would never be the same. The final battle for the council's seat of power began at dawn on a world that had never seen the light of a natural sun. The council's homeworld was built inside a massive artificial structure, a planet-sized station that had been the center of galactic government for 3,000 years. Admiral Connor Davis stood on the bridge of the UES Liberty, humanity's newest and most powerful warship. Around him, the largest fleet in human history prepared for the assault. But they were not alone. "Admiral, this is Fleet Commander Veltar of the Cathora Alliance," came a familiar musical voice. "Our forces are in position." "This is War Leader Zekon of the Free Xenothon," announced another ally. "We stand ready to fight for freedom." "All forces, this is Admiral Davis," Connor broadcast to the massive fleet. "Today, we end 3,000 years of tyranny. But remember, we fight for liberation, not conquest. We fight for the future ambassador. Lisa Carter died to protect." On the planet's surface, General Katie Sullivan coordinated the ground assault. Her forces included human marines, Cathora, militia, Xenothon warriors, and freedom fighters from a dozen other species. It was the most diverse army the galaxy had ever seen. "All units, advance," Katie ordered. "Remember your training. Protect civilians, preserve infrastructure, and capture council leaders alive, if possible." Dr. Alex Thompson monitored the battle from his position with the scientific team. His job was to ensure that important council records and technology were preserved rather than destroyed. Despite everything, humanity still believed in learning from their enemies rather than simply eliminating them. The council's defenses were formidable but predictable. After centuries of unchallenged rule, their military had grown rigid and slow to adapt. The Alliance forces moved with creativity and flexibility that confused the defenders. Captain Jake Morrison, now Admiral Morrison, after his promotion, led a special mission to rescue prisoners held in the Council's maximum security facilities. His team included volunteers from every allied species, united in their determination to free those who had suffered under Council rule. "Target building is ahead," reported his tactical officer. "Intelligence says they're holding political prisoners from dozens of worlds. Jake felt his heart race as they approached the prison complex. Among the captives were members of species who had opposed Lisa Carter's execution, aliens who had been punished for showing compassion to humanity. Remember, Jake told his team, these prisoners have been tortured and broken. Some of them might not trust us at first. Be patient and gentle. The rescue operation was more emotional than any battle. When the prison doors opened, hundreds of alien prisoners stumbled into the light, many of them unable to believe they were truly free. Some had been imprisoned for decades simply for questioning council authority. An elderly Cathora prisoner approached Jake with tears streaming down her. Blueface, you came for us, she whispered in broken English. The council said no one would ever come. We keep our promises, Jake replied, helping her walk toward the evacuation ships. Every sentient being deserves freedom. Meanwhile, the main battle was reaching its climax. The council's leadership had retreated to their central citadel, fortress that had never been breached in 3 millennia. But the Alliance forces had something the council had never faced before: hope backed by unstoppable determination. War Prime Thokmer made his final stand in the council chamber where Lisa Carter had been executed. His Vorak warriors fought with desperate courage. But they were outnumbered and outmaneuvered by forces fighting for something greater than themselves. Surrender, War Prime. General Sullivan broadcast as our forces surrounded the citadel. Your war is over. Never, Dokmar roared back. The Vorak Empire will not kneel to inferior species. Then you'll fall, Katie replied sadly, and your people will be free to choose their own path. The ancient eldest speaker made its own last stand in the depths of the station, surrounded by crystalline technology that had controlled minds across the galaxy for centuries. But when human forces entered its chamber, something unexpected happened. The eldest's psychic attacks, which had enslaved entire civilizations, simply failed to work on human minds. More importantly, the presence of humans seemed to disrupt the psychic field that had kept other species in mental bondage for generations. Impossible, the eldest whispered, its crystal form beginning to crack under the strain. How can such young minds resist the weight of eternity? Dr. Claire Adams, who had joined the assault team to study eldest technology, provided the answer. Because we were born free. We've never known mental slavery, so we can't be enslaved. The capture of the council leaders marked the end of the old galactic order. But the Alliance forces faced a choice that would define the future of the galaxy. They could execute their prisoners in revenge, or they could prove that they were truly different from the tyrants they had overthrown. President Helen Brooks arrived from Earth to make the final decision. Standing in the same chamber where Lisa Carter had been executed, she faced the captured council leaders with dignity and strength. War Prime Thakmar, eldest speaker, and all council members, she began, stand accused of crimes against freedom, including the murder of Ambassador Lisa Carter and the enslavement of entire civilizations. The prisoners waited for their death sentences, expecting the same brutality they had shown others. However, President Brooks continued, "We are not you. We do not execute prisoners or rule through fear. You have 2 choices. Stand trial for your crimes before a jury of all galactic species, or accept exile to a distant galaxy where you can harm no one." The mercy shown to their worst enemies shocked the galaxy. Species that had expected humanity to become new tyrants instead sought people committed to justice over revenge. Most of the council leaders chose exile rather than face trial as their ships departed for distant stars. The galaxy watched the birth of something unprecedented, a government based on voluntary cooperation rather than imposed authority. The Galactic Federation held its first meeting in the same chamber where the council had once ruled. Every species, including former council members who remained, was offered equal membership. The Federation's charter, written by teams from dozens of worlds, enshrined the principles Lisa Carter had died defending. Ambassador Peter Scott, now the Federation's first Secretary General, read the opening words of the Charter. We, the free peoples of the galaxy, unite, not in domination, but in cooperation, not in fear, but in hope, dedicated to the principle that all sentient beings have the right to determine their own destiny. 5 years later, Admiral Jake Morrison stood in the halls of the Carter Memorial Academy, watching young beings from across the galaxy learn together. Human children played alongside young Cathera, Xenothon, and even former Vorok, all of them growing up in a galaxy where species worked together as equals. The Academy's motto, carved in stone in dozens of languages, bore Lisa Carter's final words, "I die free, and so will humanity." But someone had added a line below it, "and so will all who choose freedom." Dr. Kevin Turner, now the Academy's Director of Cultural Studies, often told visitors about the day that changed everything. Ambassador Carter died believing in a dream, he would say. But her death gave birth to a reality none of us could have imagined. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson about the price of freedom and the responsibility that came with power. Humanity had proven that a species could be both warrior and peacemaker, conqueror and liberator, depending on the cause they served. In the end, Lisa Carter's legacy was not her death, but the life it gave to countless others. The Council had executed humanity's envoy, thinking they were ending a threat. Instead, they had created something far more dangerous to tyranny: hope. The stars no longer belonged to the strong or the ancient. They belonged to the free, and freedom, once awakened, could never be chained again. The new dawn had come, and it shone equally on all who chose to live beneath its light.